Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Having been properly advertised, I'd like to call the Zoning Hearing Board meeting to order. If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Jake, if you could call the roll, please.
Ms. Kunchin?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Dawson?
Present.
Ms. King is absent. Mr. Sebald?
Present.
We have 4 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to the approval of the November 14th meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second, Johnson.
Thank you. All in favor? Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to amend the agenda to first attended old business.
So move.
Thank you. Second? All right. Jake, if you could review appeal number 12297.
Appeal number 12297 by Allison Love for Ware Rabbit LLC concerning property located at 250 East 35th Street, located in R1A single-family residential zoning district. The appellant is requesting approval of a short-term rental special exception use per section 204.11 of the City of Erie zoning ordinance. Per section 508.10 of the ordinance, all special exception use requests shall be heard by the City of Erie Zoning Hearing Board.
So this matter was tabled at the last meeting as we were looking for some clarification from City Council with regard to not sure what that audio is.
Must be a delay.
Okay. Some clarification from City Council with regard to the screening requirement for short-term rentals. And I believe Mr. Check is prepared to address that.
Good. Hey, ready? Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney Martinucci. I was asked as part of, I'm the Jason Check, by the way, I'm Deputy Solicitor of the Solicitor's Office on the 5th floor. I help represent the city in just general matters, and also we help represent City Council. So this was brought to my attention that there is some question of the definition of the screen planting strip, which is only in the short-term rental section of the zoning ordinance. I was asked to review the zoning ordinance, see if there's anything that would lighten it up. Also, if we could get any direction from, say, City Council, since they did pass the legislation. Jake Welsh and myself did bring this up with Chuck Nelson and City Council during caucus last week. Chuck Nelson did remember getting an email saying, hey, we wanted to talk about it. And he didn't seem to have any issue with lightening the definition. So, and then the definition that would be proposed was basically to change or interpret, for this purpose, interpret, because are not actually changing the zoning ordinance until it's passed officially, but change screen planting strip to the definition of screen, which is in other sections of the zoning ordinance. Specifically, when I was looking that up, there's at least, I think, 3 other references. Section 307, there's screening requirements. In also section 306.53 and 306.52. And really, in those other sections, that doesn't deal specifically with, I think, R1 or R1A, but does deal with, whether it abuts a residential or manufacturing zoning area, whether it deals with the waterfront, and those other references seem to be very consistent with screen. Screening seems to allow some sort of flexibility. It could be a fence, could be shrubs, could be something in between. really leaves flexibility with the designer to do that. The main goal seems to be to stop the line of sight specifically into the area that they want to be covered. So I think with a little bit of research I've done with the language that exists in the zoning ordinance, and obviously council, I would say when they passed, the ordinance to permit short-term rentals, they wanted to be able to, for short-term rentals to actually be approved by the zoning board when a variance is requested. So that's my spiel. That's not really a legal term. The other thing too is when I was trying to do like a Google search or legal research for screen plant strip or whatever it is, I really only found that in zoning ordinances for townships. I didn't really see the same requirement for either third-class cities or Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Obviously, I'm not as familiar with those other ordinances, but I was trying to narrow it down and get to the right section. The bigger cities didn't have any screening requirements, and I think that's probably because the cities are more condensed building-wise in those neighborhoods. So, again, something to consider as part of that. So that was to address that.
So, Jason, just a couple of quick questions then. For clarification, I understand the purpose of the ordinance is to create a pathway for the short-term rentals. And the general rule is that we're supposed to interpret it in a way that is, in this particular instance, least restrictive to the property owner, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The interpretation that you're discussing with us right now would allow for not just plantings, but also fencing, correct?
I would, yes.
Okay. And understanding that there is no way to draft legislation or an agreement or regulation that's going to address every situation. We know that in the city you do have situations where properties are abutting property lines, and you also have situations where you might have the side of a house that isn't necessarily screened off from the side of another house. Would City Council, do you believe, look at the side of a house as satisfying that screening requirement?
This is my opinion, but I think that it would. And then, because we did have a short-term rental that had that issue. And as long as that the house kind of blocks the line of sight, so I would say the house could be in lieu of the fence, because some of the houses, maybe there's only a foot or two to work with beside their neighbor's driveway, and it will be impractical or almost to build a fence that would literally be inches from, say, a window or the wall of the house. I would think that if you had something, again, and that's where I believe the design element is, the flexibility. So say there was, a fence on one section, there's the house that does a line of sight blocking on the rest of it, and then the rest of the fence, or perhaps a mix of shrubs or plantings, that's what I would believe would be flexible.
Okay.
Especially if that person has met all the other requirements under the ordinance.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Okay, thanks.
So are you saying in the base ordinance, the screen definition includes plantings?
It does, it does in several different sections.
Right. So, but now you're saying that in the short-term rental ordinance, it's calling for a screen planting.
It is calling for a screen
But
planting.
we're going back
strip.
and saying it's specifically a screen planting.
Well, the rest of the ordinance calls for screens. And then it talks about that in the version of either including fences or landscaping or something else. Like for instance, I have some sections here, let me see if I got this correct. So in section 306.52, this talks about landscaping that not only includes trees or plantings, but also pavings, benches, fountains, exterior light fixtures, fences, or any other item of exterior furniture. And that's to describe one type of, kind of keeping the environment natural, but also, again, showing the design element and the flexibility for that particular situation. So section 306.53 specifically says the achievement of this is left to the designer, whether by walls, fences, mounds of earth, or vegetation. So at least those two sections in my mind specifically say, hey, be flexible, use shrubbery, use plants, or use, fences that, again, are not going to take away from the neighborhood.
I get that, but I'm saying the STR ordinance, then, it can either ease ordinances or it can restrict them more, can it not?
Well, I would say the STR specifically talks about a screen planting strip as one phrase,
Correct.
whereas the definition of screen has that flexibility in the rest of the ordinance. So if city council were to amend the ordinance to make it a little looser and to make the definition of screen planting strip in line with the rest of the definitions of screening, it would be towards the items I just read.
But they didn't do that.
They didn't do that,
They're specifically saying screen planting.
screen planting strip. But what is a screen planting strip?
You said it's in the base ordinance, it's a shrubbery, basically.
Basically. So that means that means that person shouldn't even put up fences.
Right.
So just shrubberies. But how tall? It doesn't specify how tall.
It's
that's
their ordinance, we're just trying to apply it.
right, and that's
And-
why.
And when you start watering down ordinances with opinion versus what's in the ordinance, that,
Well, this isn't opinion, because also the definition of screening, and I believe it's Article 6 of your zoning code, says screening shall mean a fence, evergreen hedge, or wall at least 6 feet high, provided in such a way that it'll block the line of sight.
so it says or,
Yeah,
and it
or.
includes a shrubbery,
Right.
an evergreen.
But the screen planting strip that's in the STR section of the ordinance, that's all it says. It doesn't define it, but when it says planting strip, planting usually refers to vegetation or some sort of plant.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying, but the intent, and this is why we checked with city council first, and say, hey, do you really want this to be a screen planting strip? This is how it's being interpreted by the zoning board. They've asked for some clarification. And when we talked to Chuck Nelson in the last week, this was the feedback that we got, was that screening, they meant screening as in the rest of the ordinance. Just that little change of those two words from screen planting strip to screening allows the flexibility in the rest of the
I
ordinance.
get that,
Yeah.
but that's not codified. That's just an apparently off-record conversation.
It's off record during caucus, all of city council was present.
I don't know,
Well, I'm mentioning
I get
Dick
it.
Walsh was present.
I'm saying if their intent was to say that it was just a screen, they added the word planting.
I don't know who specifically drafted it. So, I mean, if we're going to
They
get into
passed
minutia.
it. They passed it with the word planting, did they not?
Yeah, but it's fair to say that definition between screen and screen planting strip are being interpreted differently by the zoning hearing board. So when I was asked to research it and to ask what the legal opinion of the solicitor's department is, to talk to city council, this is what I have to present to you. I don't want to get into a
No, I
verbal
agree.
spat.
I'm just trying to drill down. I appreciate where you're at and where you're getting dragged into it. It's more a longer conversation about how the ordinance was pretty sloppy. So we have confusion here.
Right, and there's a possibility that, honestly, 2 quick amendments to a couple of words could change it from screen planting strip to screen. And then it would comply really with the definition that's in Article 6, I think, very easily. And that would provide the flexibility that perhaps you're trying to interpret.
I mean, my final point is
Yeah.
it sort of technically does comply with that definition. It's just requiring that it be a planting.
Well, screen planting strip,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a planting.
Yeah, but what's a strip?
But a strip of,
Right,
a strip of plants,
perhaps,
right?
trees.
I mean, those are
that's-
pretty common definitions right? And that's how
They're
the
not-
zoning
they're-
ordinance
they're-
works.
The screen planting strip is a common definition if you look at the township zoning ordinances, but not for the
I'm saying
cities.
strip, planting, and screen are all words that have common definitions.
Separately, yes, but not together. That was where I was trying to look for to see if it really was limiting, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
I mean, it's a tough situation. Not because anybody up here is, trying to draw a hard line, but, to the extent that you've got somebody who comes in, and I'm not saying that this is the case where they would do it, but somebody comes in and appeals a grant of that type of permission, and says that that the property owner isn't in compliance with the ordinance, then we've got to fight the appeal. And of course, the legislative history, if they were going to claim some type of ambiguity in the zoning ordinance itself, the legislative history going into the adoption of the ordinance, I doubt that Erie City Council does much better a job of preserving its discussions than the General Assembly does, which is horrible in terms of legislative history here in Pennsylvania. So, you know, we're left with a little bit of a dilemma, and I would respectfully suggest to City Council that if it can be fixed by a quick amendment, then it should be fixed by a quick amendment.
Okay.
That would, I think, help everybody here as we're asked to, you know, basically, you know, bless these short-term rentals in R1, provided that they meet X, Y, and Z. Well, right now, it's clear that they meet X and Y, but there's a question about whether or not they meet Z, because we've got terms in use that don't necessarily comport with other areas of the zoning ordinance. It would have been probably pretty simple to simply make reference, make a cross-reference to these other sections in terms of what the screening requirements were, instead of using a phrase that nobody clearly understands.
I don't have any
Yeah.
comments. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
No, thank you, Art.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
I mean, we can, if there's anything that's changed from the last time, certainly. I should give her an opportunity to speak.
Sure. Could we see if Ms. Love has anything to share with us relative to any changes from last month's hearing? She'll need to be sworn in again?
Yes, she would.
Thank you.
Allison, were you able to hear the question? Do you have anything to add regarding your appeal?
I was able to hear that. Anything I have to add would be that there is some confusion as to whether the city requires a screen planting or the screening in general. I feel like I have complied with screening, but screen planting would be that would have to be up to the zoning board and up to the city council if they need to amend the code about that. I had the gentleman explain the tightness of property lines and allowed house as screening, so that you wouldn't have to have anything down the driveway or in the front yard. But if the board has any other questions, I do have the bedroom sizes if they want to go that, or I can try to answer any other questions they would have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board for Ms. Love at this time? No? Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this appeal? Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Hearing none, is there anyone here to speak opposed to this appeal? Any opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay. Why don't we move on to the additional appeals?
Next up, we have appeal number 12298 by Ina Kovalevich, converting property located at 4034 Warsaw Avenue in an R1 low-density residential zoning district. The appellant is requesting approval of a short-term rental special exception use per section 4204.10 of the City of Erie zoning ordinance. Per section 50810 of the ordinance, all special exception use requests shall be heard by the City of Erie zoning hearing board.
Hi, Hi, if you could state your name for the record and turn to be sworn in.
My name is Ina Kovalevich,
Your address too?
and my address is 4034 Warsaw Avenue, Erie, PA.
Okay, if you could be sworn in.
Could you please spell your name for the record?
First name, I-N-A, last name, K-O-V-A-L-E-V-I-C-H.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All right. I'm requesting approval of the short-term rental property, special exception. I hope to create an opportunity for families and people who are looking for a more low price range area to stay at while they're visiting Erie. We have a lot of tourists that come through, and my home is big enough to have 6 people stay at it. So far, I mean, I didn't have any problems before having to come to the hearing. I'm friends with the neighbor across the street. They take a look, keep an eye out for me, and all of the requirements are there. I have off-street parking, 2 spaces, 3 if you count the garage. I have outdoor lighting. I have a 6-foot fence around the property, and really nothing that should cause a problem. So I just ask for approval of that.
Who is your registered agent that will be responsible for the property?
My dad.
Okay. And the house is currently occupied, or it is?
It's not occupied.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
So I noticed on your app, and then the posted notice, the parking is different. It says there's space for 2 on the app and 3 on the posted notice for your
3 if you're including the garage. That was just, it was confusion on that part. I didn't want to include the garage in case it wasn't adequate or like not counted as off-street parking.
Okay. Thanks.
And you're aware of the quiet hours requirement as well?
Yes. Mhm. Which is also posted in my listing.
Any further questions from the board? Ed? Tom? Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of this request? Anyone to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anyone here opposed? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone opposed? Hearing none. We will move quickly to the final appeal for today.
That would be appeal number 12299 by Nora Ahmed concerning property located at 354 East 23rd Street in an R2 medium-density residential zoning district. The appellant is requesting approval of a dimensional variance for a proposed rear addition. Per section 205 of the City of Erie zoning ordinance, the minimum rear yard setback in an R2 district is 20 feet. 8 feet is being proposed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. If you could state your name.
Just he come and explain for me. My mom, sorry, case worker. He just explain.
Good afternoon. My name is Ram Mainali. I'm her mom's coordinator from Home Health Care. And she just told me that she needs some help for explaining the situation that she has.
Sure. If
That
you
is
could
why
give
I'm
us your,
here.
if you could give us your home address, please.
My home address is different than hers, so it is 2195 Foxborough Court, Erie, Pennsylvania 16510, and her address is 354 East 23rd Street.
Okay.
Can you spell both of your names for the record, please?
Her name is Noora, and last name is Ahmed, and my first name is Ram, and last name is Manali, Mainali.
Please both raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you both provide today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, we do.
Okay, you can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. So she was basically telling me that she want to add one room at the back of her house because her mom has some underlying health condition and she can't go upstairs and downstairs. So that is why she just want to add a room at the first floor at the back of her house so that it can be easy for her mom to be there. That is why she was requesting to increase the dimensional, I think, variance of her house.
Who is the homeowner?
Sorry,
Who is the homeowner?
You, right?
me.
Okay. Jake, if you could scroll a little bit through the exhibit. And in that photo right there, Jake, what is being proposed is the white triangle? Excuse me, the white square?
That's an accessory structure, a
Okay.
shed, in the back corner. The white area to the right is the driveway,
Okay,
and the shaded area in the backyard is obviously just the sunshade, but that's the area where the proposed addition would be. I'll scroll back up to the drawing.
okay, thank you. Oh, I see.
Is that approximately 8 feet from the 20? That's south. 12 and 12 is east and west. The 20 in the back is the diagram 8 feet from the property line.
Right there, okay. Okay. The answer is yes.
I see the 12 there, but I don't see the 8.
The 8 is not marked. Right there. Any additional questions from the board?
Just briefly, how many bathrooms in the house?
Sorry, how many bathroom?
Yes,
I have a one bath upstairs and
It's the second
down,
floor?
very small, sorry, like a toilet small there.
Half bathroom downstairs, I think.
so there's,
Just
there's,
one bathroom upstairs and downstairs small, very small toilet, like for
Just half bathroom, it doesn't have shower room.
yeah, just
Okay.
small stuff.
did you look into, interior renovations as opposed to adding the room?
Sorry.
Did you look at it?
Change inside your house or no? You wanna change the inside?
By change?
Yeah, no?
No.
Just- She just want to add one room at the back of the house without changing inner side.
Like sorry, I try do something in first floor, but I don't have a room in first floor.
Okay. And then there's also, is there a shed in back?
Do you have a small house at the back of the house, said, a small house?
No, I have like a sheet.
Yes,
Back
sure.
outside, sheet, no small house, like a sheet. Sheet.
You have a
small
shed?
Yes, outside.
Yes, it does have a shed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this sheet, yeah. Yeah, this house.
What else is the addition gonna be? I mean, the primary request is for a bathroom, right? But it's 12 by 20. It's not gonna be a giant bathroom. What else is the addition gonna be used for? Like, it's 12 by 20. You said it's gonna include a bathroom, correct?
Yeah, sorry. I try add like a bathroom, full bathroom for like my mom take a shower because she can go upstairs. And I want to put washer and dryer also same that area for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can we zoom out on that and see what the neighborhood looks like around it? Jake, I just pull it up on maps.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this appeal? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Hearing none, is there anyone here in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, hearing none, we are going to take a brief executive session and we'll be back on the record. Thank you. All right, we're going to come back on the record. Thank you for your patience. Jake, if I could direct your attention to appeal number 12299, 354 East 23rd Street. If you could call the roll for a vote, please.
We have a call for a vote on appeal number 12299. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Sebald?
Yes.
Ms. Gunchin?
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to approve the appeal.
Thank you. We are going to address appeal number 12298, 4034 Warsaw, and appeal number 12297, 250 East 35th Street at the same time. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
The motion.
Motion 2.
What you wanna do? What are you gonna do?
Make a motion to table.
Table it.
Hearing a motion to table.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Sebald. If you could call the roll. Jake?
We have a motion to table appeal number 12298 and 12297. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Sebald?
Yes.
Ms. Gudgeon?
Yes.
We have a 4-0 vote to table those two appeals.
Thank you. And relative to those two appeals, we are still struggling with certain provisions of the short-term rental ordinance and need more time relative to the parking requirement and relative to the strip planting. It is our intent to address those items very quickly so that we can continue to accept appeals and move them through the process. Anything else from the board in that regard? Mr. Martinucci, anything? Okay. Seeing no further business, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.